As I dive further into new skills and matches, the gear that I use has changed, and in turn, how I carry that gear has changed. So my current chest rigs weren't really meeting my needs as my goals or my mission had changed. My conventional chest rigs just didn't work really well in the prone position or like awkward positions, and they didn't carry everything that I needed the way that I needed it to. And so I ended up just dumping everything into a backpack, which worked, but it was difficult because it required me to dig through the bag, get things out, and getting to stuff quickly just wasn't working. So I felt like there needed to be a better way to do it, and enter in the Spiritus Systems 34 Alpha split rig. Now, I was skeptical about this chest rig at first because I hadn't really seen a lot out there, and typically if there's not a lot of people using something, sometimes it's because it's just not very good. So I was worried that, maybe it just wouldn't suit my needs. Maybe it wasn't as good as, I thought it might be. And so I waited and waited and waited. And finally I was like, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to get the 34 Alpha. I'm going to test it out for myself. And I've quickly fallen in love with it. And I honestly believe that it's probably one of the most underrated pieces of kit, one of the most underrated options on the market right now, if you're looking for something like a split rig or like an LBE. Now, I realize there are a variety of LBE options on the market. And the reason I chose to go with the Spiritus is, one, because it's modular. So it allows me to change things out as my needs change, or, I can try things out and figure out what works, what doesn't for me. And then the second thing is that it keeps the back clean, which allows me to use a backpack, which allows me to lay on my back or to sit in a car. So that's just a personal preference thing. Something like the Alice packs or other LBEs out there that have pockets all the way around the back or even panels on your shoulders, maybe that works better for you. But for me, in my specific use case, this made the most sense for me, and it worked with a lot of the products I already have, which are some Spiritus items and a few others that would work on their modular MOLLE panels. I felt like it was worth clarifying that this is not a you should set up your chest rig this way type of video. This is more so, this is how I solved the problem, and maybe there's some things in here that will help you solve problems of your own, or if you're on the fence about buying one of these, or maybe give you some ideas about maybe carrying things a little bit differently or looking at it another way. So I know we all love these gear videos, we all love the kit videos, right? Like we all geek out over them, see how people are carrying stuff, how they're solving the problem. So learn how we're solving the problem and the why behind it, and then apply it to your own application and what it is that you're trying to achieve. I'm gonna walk you through my setup and how I have things organized and a little bit behind why I've done it the way that I have. So we'll start here on my back left. So this will go here on me. And what I have right here is my Kestrel. This is in a TKO pouch. So if you're looking for this pouch, it's the TKO pouch from Spiritus. And little side note, when you store this, if you create a little loop for yourself, it makes it easier to pull out of the back because it is an awkward position. So typically I put the things that I don't need a lot or that I don't need quickly. Like if I'm getting a Kestrel out, I have time, and I usually, if it were like a life and death situation, I'm only taking this out if I have like cover, right? So I'm not taking this out in the middle of a gunfight or anything like that. So that's why this is more to the back. This isn't something I need to grab all the time, and it's not something I need to grab in a hurry. So I have it back there because it's a little bit more difficult to get to. Next to it, I have the Justa pouch. Now inside, in the Velcro flap, I have a tourniquet. Again, this is situated more towards the front because this would probably be something I would need to grab in a hurry. Then right next to that, I have my IFAK, my little med kit. So I have it all rubber band together. I just rip the rubber bands off, grab whatever I need out of there. Next to that, we have some Kim lights. So if you're doing low light or night vision stuff, having a couple extra Kim lights with your med kit to mark things is usually a good idea. And so there's a couple different ways you can use these, but I just keep 2 Kim lights in there, 1 IR and then 1 visible. And then right here, I've got a multi-tool. This is a multitasker multi-tool because I can use the pliers and I can use the cutters and the knife and a few other things in there in a pinch. So, a lot of uses for that I don't have time to get into here. And then next to that, so I actually got this from Hajuka Lives. I'll leave it right here. He recommended having one of these. So I have a cheaper one, kind of like the GI ones, and it would always bend and actually broke a couple of them. So I stopped carrying them. But he said he could get the Ford Controls one, which they're local to me. So I was like, hey, Roger, you got any more of these? But getting a cleaning rod kit, mainly because, and the reason I keep this on me rather than in a bag, is that I can put this together and push a stuck casing out of the chamber, which does happen more often than you think. I haven't had it personally on any of my guns, but I have had it at range days a couple of times, and we've had to stop everything and spend quite a bit of time trying to get those out. This is a much better design. It is better material, so if you're looking for something to use to get stuck casings out, highly recommend that. And then right here on the Justa pouch, so instead of running the mag carriers there, I use this is the AXL Advanced, just their zipper pocket, so it closes this off, and what I keep in here is just some Sharpies and then a dry erase for my data card, and then index cards to use, for targets, or I can write things down and give them somebody else. New index cards in my data card. Field notes in case I got to write stuff down, whatever, write all that in there. But I just like to use that little pocket as like a little admin pocket, dump things in there. I can store candy or snacks in there if I need to. Moving on from there, we've got a spuds pouch, and I just wanted to show in here. So I typically on here for matches, it's all got all shorty mags. But coming up, I've got the Ridgeline class, and they recommend long mags and shorty mags. So I've got a mix in here just to show how they fit in here and how much space you actually have in the spuds pouch. So a little 20 rounder here, two 30 rounders, and then I've got a little breaching tool right here. This is a stiletto titanium breaching tool, which is, again, very useful for a lot of things. I actually saw that recommended by Black Hills Design. I'll leave his IG account. He also makes some really cool stuff that we'll talk about later in this rig. But check him out. He's got some good information on his Instagram account. But I keep that stored there because it stores nice and neat with the mags, and then having it with the mag keeps it from stabbing me. And I just cover it over with the flap. So that's the spuds pouch. Right here, I've got just a carabiner with some gloves and electrical tape. Again, this is not for, like I've said this before in other videos, I don't carry electrical tape for like breacher things or anything like that. This is mainly to repair stuff on the gun. Typically with night forces, the eyepiece comes loose, so I tape it so that way it doesn't back off or I don't lose my adjustment. Also on the buttstock, if taping the buttstock keeps it slick so it doesn't hang up on your clothes. All right, going to the other side. Again, working from the back to the front, so this would be the back on this side coming around to the front. So I've just got a Nalgene water bottle pouch here. I use the big Nalgene because it's hot here in Texas, it's hot in Florida, it's hot in Alabama and Arizona. A lot of places we go, it's super hot. So I'd rather have more water than one of the smaller bottles. I know it does add more weight, I know it's a little cumbersome, but for what we're doing, this makes more sense. If I was somewhere where it's a little bit cooler climate, wasn't sweating quite as much, or if I'm not outside or moving quite as much, I'd probably use a smaller bottle. The other thing too is with this pouch, it's not great, but in a pinch, if I needed to, I can throw more mags in here. So I can put, more 30 round mags in there if I had to, and then just buckle this over. If I needed to carry another 3 or 4 mags, I can do that. This is just a chamber flag, a little Noveske chamber flag. I carry one because some matches require it. Some guys get real worked up about it, and rather than arguing, I just have one that I can throw in there and use it whenever I need to. So here we have the large GP? No, this is the medium. So here we have the medium GP pouch. Is it medium? I don't remember which one. It's one of them. I'll put it here. Anyways, we have one of the Spiritus GP pouches, and I do have the padding inside. So you see the foam padding because I keep my SIG range finding binos in there. Now these have been excellent. I've only been using these for a couple months, but they've been phenomenal for ranging, and they pair with my Kestrel. I'll do a whole video on these, but these have been really cool. There are some downsides, but I think for what you're getting in the whole package, I think they're very awesome. And the reason I keep binos on me is, again, this is for stuff upcoming that we're going to be doing. We're going to have to find targets, and so being able to scan with binos is a lot easier than doing it with a dedicated spotting scope or just a handheld rangefinder. So having the capability to scan, find a target, range it connect to my Kestrel is a game changer, saves a lot of time. Plus, carrying a true spotting scope is really difficult. I do still feel there is a valid place for true spotting scopes, but again, for the application of what I'm looking to do, that makes more sense. So all I have in there is just the padded insert with that. That's all I keep in there. In the front, we have some Ear Pro. I usually like to double up on Ear Pro. I know I shoot suppress all the time, but not everybody does, especially when they have the big brakes, and I'm like, geez. So Ear Pro, and then I have a little optic tool kit that I keep here, and I put this tab on here. So I can actually weave this through if I wanted to, but it's kind of a pain to get back on there. So I just have it with the tab, makes it easier for me to pull out. I've got 2 nanos on there. I've got the Nano and then the Nano 2, and then I have the Night Force, their little toolkit for the optics. So every time we go somewhere out of town, like you guys saw when we went to JTAC, we always confirm 0 and then adjust our turrets to make sure they are zeroed out. And then I've got a compass and then a signaling mirror, and I keep those in there. There's a few reasons I use this, but again, not enough time in this video to get into those. So hidden behind the pouch, I have a Range R card. So I got this from Box Cutter. So shout out to Box Cutter because he mailed this out to me. I was like, hey dude, is there any way you have any left? And he's like, yeah, I've got a couple stashed away. So he came in clutch getting me one of these. These Range R cards are just a quick, easy way to range. So if the binos go down, I know somebody would be like, oh, well, what if the batteries go dead in your rangefinder? How are you gonna use it? So this gives you a way to range based on basically like hold this in your mouth, hold it out, and it gives you some objects and it gives you a scale to see roughly how close it is. Now, Is it perfect? No, but does it work in a pinch? Yes, and it's better than nothing. It's better than just eyeballing it. You know, I have bad vision, so eyeballing it isn't great for me. So I keep that stashed away back there as just a emergency backup. You know, if you're preparing for the end of the world or, you know, whatever situation, might be useful to carry one of those on your body. So moving on to the inside of the chest rig. So you can see they've got pouches all down the inside that you can utilize. You can use them for different things. These two are closed off. You can use these for pistol mags, or you can put pins or other little items in there. I can also throw a flashlight in there if I want to. These will hold 5.56 mags, and then these will hold 308 mags or larger bolt gun mags. You can throw one in here. So again, one of the great things about me choosing this setup was with the Spuds pouch and then having this in here, I can carry different caliber mags without having to change the entire setup. So with other chest rigs, I have to change out the inserts. So if I want to go from a 5.56 to a 308 or 6.5 mag or whatever, I would have to change out the inserts. I don't have to do that here, so it allows everything to stay the same. The only thing I would really move around is maybe move the radio from here to here. Now, again, I said that as I was growing in new skill sets and pursuing other things and pursuing other competitions, I've had to carry things differently. And one of those things I've been getting into is comms. So comms is another skill that I've been pursuing. You know, I started off with scope carbine last year, and then coming into this year, I knew I wanted to get into comms and a few other things. And so I've got a Hytera in here. I got this from Costa Defense. So shout out to Costa Defense for getting this out to me along with my Peltors. Also check out Mojave Repeater. I had a bunch of questions and he answered all my dumb questions. He walked me through a bunch of different things. He's got a ton of really good, helpful information out. He's got videos and then also on his Instagram account. So I'll link him over here somewhere. Go follow him. A lot of good information, but we'll talk more about comms in the future. It's something I'm still learning. It's something I want to get better at. I want to add more tools to the toolbox. And then I keep mags in here. I've got shorty mags in here. You can carry the longer mags in here. The only reason I have the shorty ones is that I've found that if you need to get to it quickly, even having the longer mags, because I keep it cinched down tight to my body. So because it's squeezing and compressing, it makes it a little tougher to get the mags out. So if it's something I need to get quickly, I typically would have to reload from the Spuds pouch. It's a training thing, right? So you figure out what works for you. Maybe for you, it makes more sense to do it from here. But for me, because I don't see myself reloading from these inside pouches, I keep the short mags in there, because if I'm gonna open it, it means I'm probably gonna go prone, or I'm shooting from a weird position, which means I probably have time to get the shorty mag out, which typically keeps my match grade ammo in there. So that's my thought process behind it, to each their own. But yeah, that's for me. And if I was in a situation where I just didn't have any, wasn't carrying any match grade ammo, these would just be full with 30 round mags. A couple of quick notes, because I feel like people are probably gonna ask about it. So what I've done with the comms is I've taken my PTT runs, and it's got the coiled cable. And with the coiled cable, you know, I don't want it to get snagged on anything or caught on anything. So what I've done is I've run it down through behind the pouch to try to secure it from being ripped out from anywhere. And then I've also taken the coiled part here, put my PTT upside down, added a hook and loop piece here just to loop it around so that it doesn't, you know, flop over and get caught on something. And then I took a extra shoulder pad or shoulder cover that I had from Spiritus and just wrapped over the coiled part. And so this just keeps it covered so that it doesn't snag on anything or get caught on anything and then want to pull away. And I actually like running the PTT this way with my down lead going in up versus down, because from this side, it always ends up like off to the side somewhere and just gets snagged on like little branches and stuff. And so it's kind of a pain, and it like always messes with me, just annoying. So by doing it this way, I can take it and then take the down lead, tuck it in behind the strap, and then I'm good to go. So something else I will do is at first, I had the carabiner down here and I was using that to attach my game changer, and I'll carry that. But when you have to run, this thing starts swinging around, it starts pulling you, and it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's kind of a pain. So I ended up having to hold it while I'm running, and I'm like, well, what's the point of having it attached to me if I've got to hold it? Because, you know, anyways. So what I opted to do was loosen this top strap, and then I take the middle part of the game changer, put it in there, I buckle the strap over, and then I cinch it down to my body, and it holds it there without it falling down or flopping over, or bouncing around while I'm running. And it makes it easier for me to move around. And so if I need to get to the bag, I just undo that buckle, it drops out, and the chest rig stays in place because you have the bottom strap still holding it all together. So that's something I do if you're looking at carrying a bag. I know there's a couple people who have some options that's like, Sun and Shadow makes a actual bag holder for your belt. I don't know if they have one for Molly, but there's a couple options out there if you're carrying a bag around. So that's just one way to carry your gear and make it a little bit easier on you so you have a free hand. Again, I wanted to show how you can fit some other things in here. So this is the bino pouch, and I can take some 31s and throw those in there, and then zip this up and carry those around if you're doing something like if you guys are doing night vision stuff, or if you're doing whatever else. So there's different options, different ways you can use this. And then also wanted to show you can fit this is a mod light. You can fit a mod light in there. So fits in there, you pull it out. So just want to show that there are options. You can utilize this in different ways, whatever makes sense for you. You can attach a headlamp, whatever you want to do. A couple other notes on this rig. So I've been going out and hiking with it. Taylor and I have been doing some other things with it and training with it. And I will say, with the amount of gear that I have on here, the amount of stuff that I'm carrying, this has been the most comfortable chest rig with the amount of gear that I have. When I carry it in like the Thing 2, all the weight sits on the front. It wants to flap forward, especially when I'm running. And it made things stick too far out, so I couldn't get into prone or into like some of the weird positions. And so it just didn't work very well. And then just the weight of it just never felt right. It never felt comfortable. So this actually carries very well and is incredibly comfortable. And I think a large part of that is because of how it distributes the weight to the sides. So rather than all be on one side, it feels more balanced. So when you're moving in it and when you're getting stuff in and out of it, it just feels better. It's easier to move with. Also, this is much easier to scale, in my opinion, at least for me. So I can fit this over my plate carrier. So I have a Spiritus plate carrier with front, back plates, and side plates. I can put this on and still buckle it up. And so if you needed to carry the additional mags with your plate carrier, this is an option as well, without blocking the center part of your plate carrier. So again, you could also double up on chest rigs. You could do a chest rig underneath with this one over it. Again, these are just more options you have to scale this up or scale down. I will say that when you're fitting it, one thing I would recommend is that take everything out of it and then cinch it to the point that you want. Because if you get it to the point that you want, once you start taking stuff out of the inside, it's going to be loose, and then you may not have the adjustment to make it tighter. So figure out what gear you're going to be wearing, or the least amount of gear you're going to be wearing underneath it, cinch it to that point, and you can always make it bigger. So if you're wearing a jacket or whatever, like you can just loosen it, it'll come out a little bit and shape with you better. This is also much easier to get in and out of than a traditional chest rig, except for like the Brave Castle. The Brave Castle is really easy to get in and out of with the tubes. This is super easy to get on and off. Another question that I've gotten about this is, how does it work with a belt? Now, it does work with a belt. You can do it. Is it awkward? Yes. It's not the easiest. It's not the fast thing to do. But the whole purpose, in my opinion, of doing something like the split rig or like an LBE is to get that weight off of your hips. So if you ever talk to cops who wear a lot of weight, they don't have load-bearing vests, and they're wearing everything on their hips, dude, their hips kill them after, 3 or 4 shifts, 5 shifts. It wears you out carrying all that weight on your hips. So by taking all that off of your hips and putting it on your body, putting it on your shoulders, it distributes that weight a lot better. It's easier to carry. So the goal, I think, in carrying something like this, maybe don't need a belt, right? Or maybe don't want to use a belt. But if you need to use a belt, you can use it with this. It's just not the easiest thing to get to. You are going to have some issues getting to some of your mag pouches or getting to your pistol holster. So last thing I want to say about setting this up, or your own kit, whatever you're using, is get out and train with it. Like go for a hike with it. Go train on range with it. Go shoot a match with it. Like, don't be afraid to LARP in your gear. It's the only way you're gonna find the shortcomings of it. So we went on a hike together, and I completely changed how I had these pouches set up. So I actually had my binos here to start with. I had my med pouch on this side, and I started moving stuff around, and I figured out what worked and didn't work, because having my binos further back made it really difficult to put them back. So I had to move them to the front. It made more sense to have it there because for what I'm doing with this particular rig, it made sense to get to those more quickly than I did my Kestrel. And then because of how this pouch is designed, it made more sense to be at the back. So get out and test your gear. Go for a walk, go for a run in it, go for a hike. Whatever you got to do to train in your gear. If you're actually training for something, if you're actually wanting to prepare yourself for whatever it is down the road, then you've actually got to be out using the gear. You've got to actually be out in kit. So another great option is matches. Don't look at matches as a gamer thing. Look at it as an opportunity to go test your gear, right? You're probably not going to win that match anyways, because like the best shooters are the best shooters. It doesn't matter what gear they're using. But this is a great opportunity to use your gear and test it out. So like the next couple of scope carbine matches, I'm actually going to use this because it doesn't get in the way of what I'm doing, and it carries everything that I need. I don't have to carry the backpack around. I don't have to carry a case around. This has everything that I need, and it makes sense for me. Because I'm getting so many reps with this, whether it's at matches or going for hikes or whatever, it would make sense for me to grab this should something happen, right? Should the whatever downfall or whatever scenario you're thinking of, should that happen, because I have so much time with this, I would feel comfortable using this, and it suits my skills and suits my abilities to where I'm at as a shooter right now. Again, we'll talk about that more in the future, but get out and train with your gear. So hopefully you found that helpful. Hopefully you found that useful. Maybe you learned something. Maybe it'll help you in your own setups and your own journey. Do me a favor and tag me in your chest rig setups on Instagram at Jim's Goon Life. I want to see how y'all's are set up. I want to see how you guys are approaching things differently than I am, and maybe I can learn some things from y'all. Also, I want to know what you guys are training for. I want to know what are the things that you're preparing for. What are you training for? Whether it's a match, whether it's self-defense, whatever the things you're putting the time and energy and effort into, I want to know about it so that I can put out more helpful content. Maybe I can do some things that will help some of you guys and questions you may have in the thing that you're doing. I know some other creatives out there who have a ton of really good information, and I'm trying to collab with them to bring some more information to you guys. So I want to know what y'all are working towards. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, karate chop that bell so you get notified every time I upload a video, and I will see you guys in the next one.